want to talk about the shame and guilt we all carry. We all carry all of these expressions within us, these blockages within us based on our experiences as women. I'm not saying anyone else doesn't have it, but for the purpose of this retreat that we will be that is happening in Egypt, part of the healing, empowering women is for us to go into the space, into those difficult emotions, to awaken that, because this is what the retreat is all about, to awaken the aspects of our womb that has been blocked. And when you scratch the surface little or further enough, all of these emotions, all of these expressions or imprints is found in us. And it's not a judgment thing, because we all have all of this. Is the reason why we are here. Is the reason why we are here as spiritual and physical beings, to kind of to grow. The purpose of the spirit is for expansion and is for growth. And this is what I'm about. And my focus is being more authentic. And this is the aspect of where I come in to empower women to be their authentic self. And the mode of doing that, the approach to doing that is, I believe, addressing the disconnect within us women. Because as women, we are the holders of wisdom. Again, I'm not saying that, everyone else is everyone else is not, but in ancient times and historically, women have been the holders of ancient spiritual wisdom. And this is from the matriarchal lineage, where we are now beginning to tune into, and we're now beginning to come into the divine feminine energy, that matriarchal energy, that feminine energy, that energy of the heart. So we're talking about this offline earlier, about the scale of consciousness, and I mentioned courage. So where we have, if we're, say for instance, I just want to create a scenario around the scale of consciousness, a simple scenario for people to just understand how this scale of consciousness, how they can use this scale of consciousness for themselves. Because it's a very, very empowering tool to be able to see, visualize, know. I know a lot of us, like to use the mind, and for some of us, it's, we move through stuff very quickly if we can see and also believe at the same time what is happening to us, within us, and in our experience. So say for instance, I am working with shame right now. I'm working with some aspect of shame in the past, and this happens in my childhood, where a family member has shamed me for what was abusive. Basically, was abusive to me because I did not do what they asked me to do, and therefore they use shame to sort of, they use shame as an emotional abuse point, and some physical abuse as well. I experienced some physical abuse. So I am working on the element of shame right now. And when I look at myself in that scenario, then I started looking at, okay, what did I actually do? Did I actually do something wrong? I mean, I was 6 years old when this happened. So think about, so to my 6 years old self, and up to me thinking about my 6 years old self, what would my 6 years old self know? I mean, I was under the guidance of a family member who I thought, was meant to be my guardian, look after me. And so this was where I was coming from. But instead of that, I was physically abused and emotionally abused. And the major thing there for me was shame, because I was literally put on a podium, very, very horrific abuse, put on a podium, and I was stripped naked for everyone to look at me. So that was like a very, very potent uh, point for me, which it's taken me a very, very long time to shift. But I'm happy now to talk about it. I can talk about it without any reaction, without crying about it, without referring to the original emotion uh, to the original emotion. So for me now, I have transformed some of that shame, at least most of them, to a level where I can talk about shame and say, the child at that time does not know anything. I was depending on the adults. So for me, whatever I did was part of I was acting as a child. And therefore, what was done to me, I am not going to take that into my experience now as an adult. I have been to a degree, but it came to a point where I said, I'm not going to take that anymore. And therefore, that was when I started healing. Because why? I have actually felt this shame. Right during that healing, I felt the shame. I felt the guilting within that shame. I was walking my way through the apathy, why me, why me, and the grief of having lose an aspect of myself, the aspect of myself
Innocent.
the aspect of myself that I lost was my innocence, because everyone saw me in my innocence and my privacy. So that was the aspect. I was grieving the loss of that. And then I went into that stage of grieving, and the fear of that, the fear of having to kind of face people, the fear of being seen and of being criticized as this person who was shamed on the podium. So that was that fear. The fear of criticism started rising up within me. And I had a desire. So yes, I was seeing myself through the lens of how I was moving through the scale of consciousness with this. The desire, not so much. The desire is the desire. I had a desire, but the desire to kind of really be free, to just be free of whatever this hold was. And therefore I was angry. I was angry to a certain point. And then the pride came in, the pride of, why should I be doing that? Why should I be doing that? Why should I bring myself to that level? So there was this pride. But then these 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 emotions did not come all at once. So they were through stages, and sometimes I didn't know that I was going through them. But looking at the scale of consciousness, I can see how I was working my way up through them to a point where I said, okay. And every time I get to courage, I said, yes, I think I am done with this. I have to let this go now. I need to take certain action. And the action that I was taking was making a different choice, for me, doing stuff for me. And, and kind of releasing that mental self-sabotaging belief, because this formed the shame. What happened to me at that time caused and formed a crystallized set of self-limiting beliefs I where I didn't feel like I deserve anything, or I deserve happiness, or when I have happiness, happiness would leave me, or I would experience happiness momentarily, and then what? I was always waiting, and that was part of the fear as well, always waiting that something will take this away from me. But I got to the courage point. I could feel myself where I was at the courage point that I'm done with this. This is just the past, and I'm not going to let this affect me. I'm not going to let this affect me. So that was the neutrality stage where I was willing and acceptance of what has happened, and I shifted that. So, and I shifted that to a point where, I started loving myself, that self appreciation, that self love started coming in, and the joy of that. So the enlightenment stage, the peace and the joy, I was feeling joy and peace within myself of what happened, that this wasn't who I am, this isn't who I am, what happened here isn't who I am. But it was just an experience for me to go through, to learn that lesson. Is the medicine to learn that lesson and to tap into my authentic self. So these were all of the blocks. These were all of the blocks that stopped me from truly touching the essence of that authentic self. And this is for me, the journey that I've gone through with this. I want to give women that gift of really shifting themselves from that heaviness, that they can do this, and shifting themselves from that heaviness of feeling disempowered. And seeing some questions here and there where people are asking, but why this time? Why this time? So when I just say we are in a very important point on our evolutionary trajectory, where I feel that the collection that women, the knowledge, the wisdom of the mother, the wisdom of women that they carry in their womb space, that area where we have been disconnected, is very, very important. And when we dive deep enough into womb healing, some of these are coming up. Some of these blockages are coming up, will be coming up, as it came up for me. And not to say my own experience with the womb space as well. I had, although when I had my son in a normal birth, but I did have something called female genital mutilation before I had my son. Although there was no medical implication, but the physical implication of that. So again, this is another reason why I started working on myself, working with the womb. I had an abortion when I was young, when I not obviously young, when I was in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. So part of that, I feel that I was carrying some grief around there. So I started working on my womb. I started reconnecting. I started working with that area of myself, because I was looking at myself. Well, generally I was kind of I am successful, very successful in what I am doing, but I feel like there was something missing. There was something missing, that connection with my creative womb. And I used to have painful periods as well. So all of these, I started looking at, why was I having painful period? Why, what was the cause? So I started asking myself this deep introspective question. So, and this was how I began to work on myself for many years now. And I've also been working on myself as working on myself, being a self-mastery coach and soul doctor, and helping other people as well. But I feel that it is time that I bring this wisdom, that I also help other women on a larger scale, not on a one-to-one, but on a larger scale now, that I am ready to step into that role as 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 guided by my higher self to work with women. So how did that come about? I went to Egypt, and I stayed in Egypt for like 1 month, and I was looking at the environment. I was looking at everything. But what was missing, what I began to feel, is that the voice of the feminine. I didn't see much women walking around um, other than people who are migrants. They're not indigenous to the land. They're migrants. People from the West coming to live there, coming for holiday. And I just said that this is really strange. And I started getting these insights as I walk on the land. I started getting this insight that this message was coming through. Why is the voice of the women silent? What is happening? What is happening? So I was guided to the fact that this, on the land of Egypt, on the landmass of Egypt, the ancient landmass of Egypt, was where the matriarchal voice, one of the very first place where the matriarchal traditions was silenced. And this was my trigger to then start to put this out, that this is time. And with all of what I have learned, everything that I've learned through all of my spiritual experiences thus far, I feel this is a point where I have now understood that this is a time where we, as women, we need to not only have that spiritual awakening, but to connect with that womb aspect of us, because we have the wisdom, we have the key. And I started getting these downloads that women are the birthers of civilization. And this is the time for them to make that appearance. So, but in order to do that, we need to connect. We need to reconnect with that aspect of our creative self. And our creative self is the womb space. And part of what we'll be doing in Egypt, we'll be doing a lot of womb work and be doing certain work on the land, energetic work on the land, as we walk through different parts of Egypt, because it's really, really important to activate that matriarchal wisdom again from that land.
I have a question.
Yeah.
what parts of okay, let me try and put this into the words. It's in my head straight, but trying to get it out. So the in relation to this um scale that you've got here, the different parts of what you'll be doing in what we'll be doing in Egypt, which parts of them, which stages of Egypt relate to which stages on this chart, or is it not relate is it not relatable? Could you so say when you're doing the womb healing, whereabouts on this scale would you say that that level of conscious, like what level of consciousness would you be at in each stage of where we'll be at in Egypt? Does that make sense?
I think I understand the question. Um, there's no level per se. If I have to say a level, I would say, it's being our authentic self, you know. So we want to bring out the authenticity. I mean, being authentic, because that is the stage where we are vibrating at our highest vibrational, we are holding our highest vibrational expression. And of course, this is where um, I feel that uh, part of being authentic too is part of being revolutionary in this our current society. And revolutionary does not mean obviously doing the massive things and, turning the globe around to a different location. It's all about that taking that individual responsibility as women, because we all have a voice. We all have a voice. And one of the colors, if I am pointing at this, the voice is blue, the throat chakra. But we, at the end of the day, we do work from the heart space. I mean, I've just noticed that the shape, and I've just noticed that the shape of this cone is the shape of the the yoni, the feminine part. The yoni, the feminine part. So to answer your question is, it's being authentically who we are. And from that place of authenticity, we are more able to speak that truth that we are bringing from within our belly.
I don't know if it froze for you, but it froze for me for a little bit.
Oh, so can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, it froze when you said you noticed something about the shape.
Oh, okay. Okay. So how long did it freeze for?
Just until I just came in back in now when I started talking. It
Oh,
wasn't
is
very
it?
long. Yeah, it's just a few seconds.
Okay. So I'll just go through that again. So I just noticed that the scale of this consciousness, the scale of this diagram is in the yoni shape. So it's the shape of the feminine, which is
Uh-huh.
bringing the consciousness down. So to answer your question about whether this relates to anything that we're doing in Egypt, everything is related. But what I want to highlight is that is the oh, okay, is the authenticity. You know, if we are authentic or expressing our true authentic self, we are more open to to speaking from the belly, from the truth, from that womb space, to bringing our own truth. Because what this is that it's not about um, whether or not someone is a spiritual teacher or not, because all of us are teachers and students on this journey. So it's about what message, what is your message? What is the message? Which message are you carrying are you carrying in your womb that you need to speak up? Which message am I carrying in my own womb that I need to speak up? Which message are other women carrying in their womb that they need to speak up? We are at a time of the energy of, we are bringing the energy of the divine feminine. And the divine feminine is not about masculine. It's not about the physical male or the physical woman. It's about the energy of compassion, of love, of introspection, of intuition, of wisdom, of knowing. The divine feminine energy is the energy of that inner knowing. And how do we best get the inner knowing? We best get the inner knowing by releasing, clearing all of the blocks to our truth and becoming that authentic self. And from that authentic place, we can speak our truth. The color of the truth chakra is blue. So if I am using the color of the scale, blue is the color of the truth chakra, speaking our truth. So we're more open. When we don't have any barriers to truth, we're more open to speak our truth in that authentic way. So I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, it definitely does.
So do you have any other question that you would want to ask me, or you?
I have loads of questions. What I need to do is if we keep talking for a little bit longer and then you send me the video so I can go through it.
Okay.
And because I don't like to interrupt you speaking
Yeah.
because you've got so much knowledge to take in.
Yeah,
But
I
you've
get.
spoken about quite a lot, and I especially like want you to continue because you was going up through the scale from shame
Okay.
to guilt up, and then you
Yeah.
got to courage and neutrality.
Yeah.
How
Okay.
then does it go forward?
So how then does it go forward from courage and neutrality? So if I am taking my own experience of that shaming experience, that major shaming imprints that I had when I was, I think I was about 7. I was about 7, but the whole process, the whole experience of that time lasted for 4 years. So between the ages of 6 and 11. So this was where I was going through the experience where I first noticed of having that imprint, that deep imprint of shame. And I started working on the shame and the guilt, the apathy. And at different times, this come out different times. They come out different times. So with what is happening here, um, you can go through the shame, you can go through a bout of shame and arrive at courage. Where you arrive at courage, when you arrive at courage, it's a very active energy, as well as it's a very light and active energy at the same time. At least this was how I felt it. So the courage and neutrality, the courage is light, active, but yet strong. You feel stronger than, I felt stronger than, I'm explaining this from my own experience. I felt stronger than I have ever been to deal with, to sort of take this forward to the next level, to say, I'm done with feeling of shame of those time. I'm done with feeling of shame. I'm done with, taking all of those projection. I'm done with allowing the imprint of that time, of that experience control my life. So this was how courage sounded to me. So, and I took that to a point of neutrality. I said, I'm done. So that 250 point was me saying, I'm done with it, I'm finished with it. And I felt this sense of, I am not bitter about this person. I am not angry towards them. I don't hold any unforgiveness within me. So this was this was how I felt that state of neutrality. Of course, people can use this scale in different scenario, in different ways. You can just look at it and use that as a reference. But with this experience of shame, I've been looking at it from a progressive point, to the point where, I arrived at that enlightenment. At least the enlightenment, I will tell you, this was like a week ago, where I just realized that, wow, I mean, and what that enlightenment felt for me was, I did not know that was like a major thing that was impacting on me. That was like the medicine point for me, the point where I felt that I have been holding this guilt, this shame for so long, that it affected my life. It cost me. It cost me a lot, not only emotional cost, but physical cost to my body, because I was holding a lot in my womb space as well. And as I release a lot of this, I started feeling that lightness in my womb. It's not like feeling heavy. Because what happens again, I'm just going to mention this. What happens again is, when we carry a lot of trauma in our womb space, we start to have a lot of weight gain, a lot of weight around the area. And this is not 100% certain, but when you start to heal, you start to feel things bubbling up from that aspect of the body. So this is how I have actually felt it in my own self. And the enlightenment for me is the feeling of it, is how my body feels. My body felt, it's like my spine is strengthened. My head is cleared. It's cleared of what? It's cleared of that element of shame that held me down, that kept me looking down on myself, that kept me um, shaming my own self into the guilt, shaming my own self, or being shy, or putting my head down. These days I see my head up. I kind of notice in my head, I'm looking straight ahead instead of looking down. So these are, I mean, I was just taking everything. I was just taking my body sensation, how I feel, my feeling, my body sensation, the posture of my body. I was taking all of these into consideration. And of course, how I started speaking. And now I'm speaking about this because I have cleared that shame enough to be able to talk about it. And that is the authenticity, really, truly being in that authentic place to speak my truth and to be able to speak about this authentically, so that people can hear and know my own story and my journey, my continuous journey towards authenticity. And this is why I feel that this scale of consciousness, it's really, really it's something that we embody within all of us. It's something that we carry, something that we hold in ourselves, you know?
I'm just gonna do that every time I want to ask a question. I'm gonna raise my hand, so you know that
Okay.
I'm waiting. So you know how you said that we carried a scale? Could this scale be carried multiple times at once? You know how you said, because um I myself have trauma from childhood, and there's like several spots in my life where trauma has come up,
Yeah.
and within childhood, teenage years, my 20s, and each thing that happens, it's not just trauma, it's everything that kind of happens, every
Exactly.
decision that you make. And each time the decision's made, each road that you take, every path that you take, this scale actually applies for each thing. So that's why sometimes you can feel like 1 minute you could be living in love, and then the next minute you've gone back down to shame, and then the next minute you're in pride, and then the next minute you're in, it's always ebbing and flowing, because it's up and down, because there's all the different aspects of your life that this actually applies to.
Yeah, it does, and it's true, and it's true, it's truly that. And the scale is just a visual representation of it. So it goes deeper, the tree of it. And like you said, it's not only trauma, it's everything that we experience. It's everything that we experience on different levels. And if we talk about the Akashic record, which is a different subject, the Akashic record is within us, and the scale is part of that Akashic records. So the Akashic record is an energetic database of all of the decisions, all of the experiences, and experiences that we've had thus far up to this very minute, even as I'm talking to you.